Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome to The Correct Views. Samurai B. DeGanchi reporting for the Media Speaks. And if it looks like it's kind of a fuzzy, low-def version, that would be my live viewers right there. It's 4:30 in the morning, 7/29/2014. If it isn't that time for you, and you're not watching this live, then it might behoove you to go there, and I'm pointing now to the high def. And that, of course, posts at themediaspeaks.com, of which I am a proud member of. All right, guys, here we go, straight into the news. You know, I get a lot of angry people, and let me tell you why I get this. I'm usually very libertarian in my thoughts. It does, like all philosophies, break down at some point. And at those points that do not fit into the correct views, for those of you that don't know, it's a play on words from The Views, which was never correct. The View, the show. I get a lot of hate whenever I don't want to say hate. Yo, you a hater. That just means you're a dissenter. I get a lot of dissenters when I venture off of what would be considered libertarian talking points. One of them is this baseless hatred for Israel. Israel basically given a plot of land that they've made flourish under themselves, and now everybody wants to take it from them. I know I'm going to get more dissent for that comment, but I wanted to point out that The Guardian has reported, The Guardian, Israel did not bomb the hospital. They are saying that Hamas, a few of their wayward rockets went to the hospital that was bombed. I have seen in other reports, and I'm saying other reports because it is my fault for not getting the link. I was at work when I looked it up. Other reports have said that Hamas did it on purpose, saying that Israel did it. Here's what I think probably happened. I'm going to be dead honest. I think Hamas fired the rocket from more than one location, and it led to this. And could I believe Israel did this? I don't know. Again, I'm not a Zionist. I'm just pro the country of Israel. It doesn't mean I go along with all the other Rothschild BS. But I did want to report, because nobody else is, that Israel is saying that they did not shoot the hospital. And that's reported in The Guardian. I mention that because I also get a lot of dissenters for my distaste for illegal immigration. Now, I've said time and time again, ad nauseum, I think it should be easier and cheaper to legally get into the country. We should not be selling our citizenships away. However, a country has culture, a language, and a structure to it. Borders, language, culture, to quote Michael Savage. I agree on those points. You can't have, for any reason, especially manufactured reasons such as these, mass illegal immigration going into a country. Well, listen to this. In the event of emergency, illegals can be evacuated before citizens. Not only are we letting them into the country, but they get privileges that the rest of us don't get. Now, maybe this doesn't matter to you because you're an idiot, but it matters to me because I live very close to the Perry nuclear power plant. I'm in Canton. Look it up. It's not that far up. If they have a significant meltdown, that's why I'm anti-nuclear on all fronts. If there's a meltdown, I'm hosed, and I would like to be able to get out of here. Right? Do you know? If you're an illegal immigrant, they're going to care more about them getting out of here than they would the citizens in the event of an evacuation. And we learned after Fukushima, they lie so much that they almost never issue an evacuation, but for what it's worth. Should a hurricane or other life-threatening catastrophic weather event impact South Texas, illegal aliens occupying various shelters will be first to get to safe ground, a National Weather Service coordinator says. At a meeting last week, it goes on, emergency managers in the Rio Grande Valley region addressed the reality that, in addition to picking up the tab, there's a link for it, for putting the immigrants up, they have also accepted responsibility for their safety. I thought that was for their safety was the reason they got here. That means ensuring illegal aliens have a safe evacuation from temporary or permanent shelters during an emergency. Now, in the event that massive war would break, the reason they're giving, massive war would break out in this country and I needed to go to Mexico, I would not expect them to give me special treatment. I would just be happy that I was allowed to be there. If the shoe was on the other foot, I would just be very happy that they did not throw my ass out. You have extra sheltering areas and detention centers right here, NWS coordinator Barry Goldsmith told KRGV News. And are they able to withstand the wind? Are they able to withstand floodwaters nearby to get humanitarian relief? Goldsmith is worried that if a hurricane or other emergency hits, the evacuation of some 4,000 illegal aliens could be impeded by citizens also trying to reach safety. One way to ensure the illegals remain safe is to evacuate them before the general population receives evacuation orders, Valley City leaders concluded. Well, ain't that great? The entire Valley detention areas will be evacuated first, says Goldsmith. In other words, before the public gets their mandatory evacuation, the plan is to get all these unaccompanied women and children and gang members out of the valley and to safer ground in order so they can kill people there. The city and federal officials say by getting unoccupied alien women and children and mobsters out first, they are trying to avoid a Hurricane Rita type situation where more than 100 people died during the mass exodus of 2.5 million people from the Houston area. If you don't want to die in American disasters, do not sneak into America. Independent.co.uk. Another thing that I tend to get dissenters regarding is my distaste for Vladimir Putin. The Pussycat Riot deserved to be punished. Don't deface a church. They didn't deserve what they got. The man is a communist, and his ideals are counter to that which works to building a better society. I don't like the man. I don't like him. Having said that, the man appears to be an Orthodox Christian with this, which is something that I do like, and I think I wish more leaders were. I know he's a part of the NWO to some degree, but again, one of the reasons I have some sympathy for the man is he's not the kind of NWO swine that our president is. He's a much better man than the man we have in office. And I'm not saying that due to the color of his skin, which we'll get to later. But I don't think Putin is I don't think he's very good at being things other than a communist. And I think when he steps out that way, if anything, he leans more to the I'm a dictator way of thinking. These massive punishments foreseeable for people who showed some kind of gay pride. And all of you know I'm against that whole, I'm gay, worship me, yay, gay. I'm against all that. That's stupid. Be what you are and don't apologize for it. But these extreme punishments that Russia, via Putin, wanted to dish out during the Olympics for any kind of gay coming out, yay, gay BS, when the rest of the world, of course, is just worried about terrorism. Sometimes the man doesn't have his head in the right place. I had said that I thought that he may have been guilty of downing that plane because he wasn't coming forth with any proof. Now that he has come forth with some kind of proof, you know what? He might not have downed that plane. And I agree with Ron Paul. We need to see exactly where that goes. Anyway, you can tell it's like a rather unpleasant man. If you followed the meme, look up Dave Mustaine, Vladimir Putin meme. They look a lot alike. If Dave Mustaine was chronically constipated, he would look like Vladimir Putin. I'm dead serious. A singer of Megadeth, for those of you Usher fans that don't know good music. This is by Ella Alexander. Vladimir Putin claims that he works harder than any leader since Stalin. A strange comparison, but that's his choice of dictator. Keep in mind, Stalin killed more people than Hitler at the same time. But little is known about his private life, which by all accounts seems somewhat dour. Who would be surprised? The man's got a face like somebody beat him in the face with a pickle. Newsweek has sought to go behind the scenes into Putin's court to find out about his personal habits and lifestyle. And it would seem that he is in fact world politics' answer to Mariah Carey, although be it a bit lonelier. Ouch. He doesn't rise until early midday. Stop. There's nothing wrong with that. It's 4:40 in the morning and I'm doing a show. I just got off 7.5 hours of work. I just got back from visiting my mother at a nursing home, a hospital. I've zipped around quite a bit. So I'm not going to get up until midday, so we won't hold that against him. Spends hours swimming while he keeps his quarters waiting. Yeah, there's not a country to run or a nation. What's most important is that you get to swim. Well, people that have put their time, effort, and professions, and reputations, and work ethic into seeing you, it's good that you swim with your sour face. Then he reads for a while. Historic tomes of his favorite apparently, before hitting the gym, where he is reportedly big on weights training. Well, that's not so bad. Then comes his cleanse, where he favors hot and freezing baths. Well, I like to boil. I guess if for some reason he'd like to freeze in a tub, that's his business. I guess if he's that lonely, men, that could be why. You all hear me. Then he thinks about doing some work and perhaps how best to upset the world on any given day. I love that comment. His traveling habits are surprisingly indulgent. He insists on replacing all hotel toiletries. Oh, Buffy, we mustn't use those. Well, I guess it'd be Russian. Mustn't use those. It's more German. My accents suck. He insists on replacing all hotel toiletries with special Kremlin anti-contamination seals, and carts around loads of Russian cooks, cleaners, and waiters around him. Well, one of them was poisoned. One of the other Russian leaders was poisoned with polonium, so you can't blame him too much. Teams of diplomats are required to hold multi-session food negotiations with the respective hosts. He also can't be offered food products by the host. All foreign food stuff has to be cleared by the Kremlin, because of course he's worried he's going to be poisoned after what happened to the prior leader. But at the same time, you don't always find this level of distrust. He seems to do this even when he's visiting allies. And you have to remember that everybody laughed at Obama for spying on our allies. Again, I understand some of his fear. I do. It's just that it kind of adds to the unpleasantry. It was sort of an odd article. Because, again, I don't think Putin is an evil man. He's just a very distasteful one. Also, quell surprise, his staff are terrified of him. This reminds me of Hillary. You can't look Hillary in the eyes or she'll fire you. This has been documented in a number of books. You can look it up online. There is to be no laughter or jokes around the Tsar, as his inner circle call him. They used to nickname him the boss, but have recently changed tact. Not for Putin is the democratic management style. Office repartee is clearly nominal. The politicians whisper when he is in the room, says a court interpreter. They stay very attentive. There is nobody close enough to joke with him. When he enters a room, the whole sound level drops. The president behaves as though he is made of bronze, as if he shines. He seems to know that you will flinch when you meet his eye. There is a silence around him. We found this in Bush. We found this in Hillary. These kinds of things are dangerous. This isn't just he can act however he wants. That's not the point. The point is it gives you some idea what the mindset of this guy is. And there are a lot of people who, because he is besting Obama in some instances, they want to instantly like this man. No, that doesn't mean just because Obama is awful that this man isn't. He's just less awful. He's at least Christian. The voices of grown men change when they speak to him. They make their voices as low as possible. Their faces become solemn, almost stiffened. They look down, worried, nervous, and alert. In his spare time, Putin has no family except for his daughters, who have understandably left him in Russia. Hangs out with a black Labrador who is not scared of him. He likes playing ice hockey, where presumably he derives pleasure from running around hitting fellow players with a stick. That's just clever writing. But there you go, guys. Some insight into why Vladimir Putin never smiles even when he's happy. He makes Angry Cat look like a clown at Barnum Bailey Circus. The register.co.uk, banning handheld cell use by drivers saves the world. No, banning handheld phone use by drivers had no effect on accident rate, according to this study. Well, Sam, does that mean that all these cities that ban cell phone use, are they using it as an excuse just to get ticket money from you? Yes. Are they claiming that it makes you less? I've said forever, if you're texting, that's a bad idea because you're looking away for a considerable length of time. If you are talking on your phone, especially if it's hands-free, you're no more of a danger than you are if you're talking to the person sitting with you in a car. This has never made any sense to me. They're taking money off you for nothing. It's an excuse to go through your car. Quick story, I'm not going to say where I was at because I don't want to bring any attention to the department. But I got pulled over, and this cop insisted on that he was going to go through my car. And I said, I gave him my name. I let him search me for weapons. I said, I will consent to this search. Then he said, I want to go through your vehicle, and he used every excuse in the book. He was sure that I had weed. He was sure that I was hiding something. I do not consent to any searches or seizures. I said it over and over again, and he grudgingly let me go. It works, people. It's an excuse to get around that. You're on your phone, so now we have probable cause. So we don't need to ask you to stand up for your Fourth Amendment. Cell phone usage has nothing to do with auto accidents. And I didn't say texting. I don't mean that kind of cell phone use. I don't mean using it to look up the internet and play Jeopardy online. I mean talking on your phone. Recent legislation banning the use of handheld phones by drivers had basically no effect on the number of road accidents, according to a new study. If it's really that dangerous, and if even just a fraction of people stop using their phones, we would expect to find some decrease in accidents, says Professor Daniel Caffeine, who works on the analysis. But we didn't find any statistical evidence of a reduction. It seems that Caffeine and his colleagues stayed up all night. I had to. I won't do it again. It seems that Caffeine and his colleagues took steps to iron out at least the most obvious extraneous factors. We are told, quote, the researchers chose to look at relatively narrow window of time to reduce the number of other variables that might have an impact on accident rates, including the possible introduction of safer cars into the market, an economic recession that leads to a drop in overall driving, or other changes in state laws. What does that mean in English, which is why you tuned in? They factored out the margin of error that would be brought into the study by safer cars maybe bringing accident and fatality rates down. Certain state laws changing the way you're allowed to drive, and the economic recession. The more gas is, the less people drive. They also corrected their data to account for precipitation, which can cause more accidents. Gas prices, which can affect how many vehicles are on the road. I would say that should have been part of economic recession. And other unobservable factors that may have influenced accidents. One of these corrections had been made. The effect of banning handheld cell phone use at the wheel can be found to be 0. That is none for you Tia London fans. Our results suggest that simply banning handheld cell phone use cannot produce the desired increase in traffic safety. In other words, you are being ripped off with that law. It's an excuse to go through your car. It's an excuse to give you a ticket. And friends, you're listening to the correct views. Do me a favor. You might want to go ahead and check out the wonderful Seacrest Motel. It is in Sandusky, Ohio, right by Cedar Point. Do you know, we got a room there the other day, and it was $50. My girlfriend and I, Christelle, buy season passes. Cedar Point. Everybody else up there is paying $80 at the minimum for a room. During Halloween weekends, when all the monsters come out, I have heard that the hotel breakers can go for over $600 for a haunted room. Let me ask you a question. When you're in Cedar Point, the roller coaster capital of the world, are you going to be in your hotel room? I don't care how decked out it is. Or are you going to be riding the coasters? I'll see you at the coasters. Do me a favor. Check out the Seacrest Motel. She'll give you a beautiful room. Her name's Vicky. Tell her TMS, TCV. sent you. The media speaks the correct views. Tell them TCV sent you. And when you do, you're going to get a good room at a great price. It's going to be a little bit cheaper because you mentioned TCV. It's got, all the normal desk TV stuff. It's got a tub and a shower, beautiful bed, clean towels, and you're paying a fraction of the rate for just as comfortable as a bed, just as warm as heat, just as cool as air conditioning as anywhere else you're going to go. Also, friends, look up the work of Mike McLaughlin. You can find him by going to facebook.com. Mike McLaughlin, McLaughlin. He's a poet. He's a writer. If you're listening to this show, you're not one of these idiots that are like, turn down for what? No, you're actually probably reading. You're listening to music that has some kind of meaning to it. You like to read sometimes. Go look up Mike McLaughlin. He's one of the best authors extant today. All right, guys. Steve Watson, PrisonPlanet.com as we close out the show here. Study. People would rather electrocute themselves than think for 5 minutes. Now, I'm going to talk about Christelle, but I'm not going to say it in a bad way. I'm not going to. She is an excellent girlfriend. As loyal as the day is long. Always by your side. And cannot pay attention to anything for over 30 seconds. I have seen houseflies beg her to stay in conversation with them. I've never seen any living creature, including houseplants, with a worse attention span. There's movies like Eraserhead that I love that I'll never show her because there's no way she'll be able just to watch the movie long enough. Distracted by every little thing. If you shut her cell phone off and her computer off at one time, she starts to twitch and bleed at the nose. This was an interesting find for me, and if you know someone like this, and I do love Christelle very much, who was going to kill me. It's true. If you know someone like this will be an interesting study for you. And again, the other thing is people say afraid to think. It might be that they don't want to deal with where life has put them. And I don't mean that people are responsible for where they are in life. I mean that people are where they are in life because of changes and decisions that they did not make, that they got stuck having to make. I'll do a whole show on it sometime. And that could be another reason why some people just don't want to think. But this is interesting. A shocking, pun intended, new study with the link provides salvo for those who argue that the attention span of the general population is slowly eroding to non-existence, finding that people would rather self-administer electric shocks than just sit in an empty room thinking for 15 minutes. The argument that electronic devices, gadgets, and the allure of tools such as Facebook and Twitter are causing our attention to dwindle and making us become more easily distracted is a common one. Again, I would argue the state of people's life, the way people have to work every day for things that they don't care about and never ever have any chance of progression in things that they do like, because in our country art is dead. Writing, you can't make a living as a writer anymore because we don't have any readers. That kind of thing. I think it depresses people, especially people that would watch the kind of show that are still listening to me now. You people know what's going on in the world, and that can make you very, very sad of heart to think, But beyond that, yes, I think Facebook and Twitter and our top 40 culture lends to the dumbing down of America, and I leave comments about it online all the time. Academics at Harvard and the University of Virginia began a study, it says, entitled Just Think, the Challenges of the Disengaged Mind by placing subjects into an empty room for between 6 and 15 minutes, telling them to do anything, telling them to do nothing other than think to themselves. When the allotted time was up, the researchers asked the people if they had enjoyed the quiet time. Around 50% said that they had not enjoyed it, that's half, and that they had found it difficult to concentrate on anything, finding that they could not focus on a particular subject without their mind wandering. See, I would have instantly went to, let's see, I got 15 minutes, I can get a good idea for band lyrics for passing time, and I'd have come out with like half a song. When the experiment was repeated, but within people's own homes, the subjects noted that they enjoyed the process even less, with a third of them admitting that they had simply given up and checked their phones or started surfing the net. Taking the experiment to the new level, the researchers sat the subjects in a room with nothing other than a machine for administering small electrical shocks, once again instructing them just to have a think about things for a few minutes. Those involved had been subjected to the shock experience, and most said that they loathed it and would actually pay money to not experience it a second time. I hate being shocked. I bought my friend Nick from the band Ugly Distance. I bought him a shock lighter, and he gave it to me when I needed a lighter, and he gave it to me, and it shocked me, and God, that's hilarious. But I hate it. So I have no idea where these people's heads is, but I tell you mine isn't there. Even a small shock, it's annoying, hate it. The results of the test were startling. Almost 2/3 of the male subjects gave themselves one or more electrical shocks out of pure boredom, seemingly unable or unwilling to spend a short amount of time exploring their own minds. Now see, I might have shocked myself with it once, just to see if the experiment was part of testing to see whether or not I trusted authority or not. I might have checked it once because I don't trust authority, but other than that, I can't imagine myself doing it. According to the data, in a 15-minute spell, one man administered 190 shocks to himself rather than just sit quietly with nothing to do. That man would be an Usher fan. That data was removed from the final tally results, so he's not factored into it. It did not skew the results. After almost a quarter of the women involved also gave themselves a shock. On average, each person gave themselves 1.47 times a shock during a 15-second period. And it does say that some people did it because they were bored. But I think it's interesting to note that beyond boredom, beyond testing the ramifications of the experiment like I would do, it does say a lot that our attention span is falling. And this can be dangerous for a number of reasons. And again, I drift. I'm as guilty as anyone. But the level that we've been seeing it within the last 10 years or so has been very alarming. And study after study has shown it. Prison Planet, Steve Watson, he's getting quite a bit of attention on this show. I didn't plan it that way. Poll, majority reject Obama policies because they're bad, not because of racism. I am so tired of this. If you hate Obama or the way that he runs the country, then you are racist. Okay, if you hate this show, then it's because you don't like people with an Italian last name. My last name is DeGangi. I don't appreciate you being prejudiced against Italian people by not liking this show. My name on the low deaf viewers will tell you my name's written on the lower third. Not one person thought a word about disliking me because I was Italian. Not one. That's how preposterous this is. According to a new Rasmussen poll, a sizable majority of Americans do not believe that opposition to Obama's key policies stem from racism, as both the President and Attorney General have repeatedly suggested. No, it's because of Libya. It's because of our involvement in the Ukraine. It's because of us sending weapons to Islamists that steal them and then bomb other countries, then we get roped into the attack. It's because of the spying. It's because of the drones. Need I go on? Did I ever mention skin color? No, I did not. The survey found that 61% of likely U.S. voters think people who oppose the president's policies do so because they believe his policies are just plain bad. Because they are. That's a correct view. Not because they are racist. Attorney General Eric Holder's likely response will be that the poll is somehow racist. I wouldn't be surprised. But friends, you can read the rest of the article. I don't want this show to go on all day. I'm glad that most people are realizing that this has nothing to do with racism whatsoever. He is a terrible president. Prison Planet, mother jailed, kid taken by social services after playing at a park unsupervised. Also Steve Watson. That's hilarious. That never happens. A mother and... I have two dumdies, by the way. Two dumdies today because the dunce cap of the month is coming, and I found so many dunce articles that I can't even get to all of them in one show. So we have two dumdies today. Mother jailed, kid taken by social services after playing at park unsupervised, which is legal. A mother in South Carolina has been thrown in jail and her 9-year-old daughter taken into the custody of the Department of Social Services, which of course won the Dunce Cap of the Year last year for killing a child in Texas. Look it up. After busybody neighbors reported that the child was playing alone in a park. Deborah Lynn Harrell faces charges of child neglect at the hands of North Augusta Department of Public Safety. Same thing. Reports local news station WJBF after her daughter was found playing unsupervised where Harrell was working. The police report states that the girl told officers that her mother always drops her off at the park before going to work. According to the report, Miss Harrell admitted to letting her child play in the local park alone, saying that she cannot supervise her all of the time because she has to work at a branch of McDonald's to support her family. Two things. If they didn't want the child there, and it's none of their damn business, but I digress, they could have offered to make sure the child had some kind of care. It would be cheaper than taking the child, which is what they did. Second of all, none of their business. It is a public park. That is the girl's parent, not the state. Instead of offering to help Harrell out by looking after her child or helping find affordable daycare, like I just said, a neighbor simply reported the mother to the police, leading Miss Harrell being jailed. Of course, in the new America, it is not normal to try and work to support your family. That's just plain weird. For attempting to earn a living to support her child rather than idly collecting welfare, Harrell finds herself behind bars with her child having been kidnapped by the government. I understand my mom may have been in a difficult situation not having someone to watch the child, but at the same time, you've got to find somebody. No, the child can play in the park if the mother says the child can play in the park, you fascist scum. Absolute filth. So now you know who to get a hold of. That's why I do these dumb-d things. The North Augusta Department of Public Safety. Call them and politely let them know what an outrageous set of circumstances they have led to here with the taking of this child. It's why I do these things, people. So use them. Last thing I'm going to get to, cbslsocial.com. Don't go to this site, CBS Boston. You don't want to go there because it keeps refreshing and it's really annoying. I say that about every site I go to that does this because it's rude. Do not make your page refresh over and over again. I will slam